everybody. Thank you very much. Let me get set up a little bit here. Okay. There we go. Alrighty. Okay. I don't like to do the whole long wait and wait till people log in. I like to kind of just go right into this in case people want to come back and watch this. They don't have to wait a whole long time. Aloha, hui. Welcome back to Connect the Dots with Jenny. Today is Monday, June 30th. I am going to be reading the charge sheet. The charge sheet is what Judge Arun Submarinian read to the jurors right before they were adjourned to go ahead and deliberate. Okay. So we're going to read it word for word. This isn't going to be as long as all the other ones that I've read before from the prosecutors or from the defense team. And the whole purpose of this is he's telling the judge or the jury exactly what to look for, exactly what the charges are, and what the laws are. All right. So at 9:12 a.m., Judge Submarinian enters, and he's the one that speaks. In case there is anything, we'll bring the jury in for the charge. Garagos, the laptop is ready. There's a few things we'll finalize during the charge. Okay, all rise. The jurors enter. And now it's the judge speaking. I'll read you the charge. It's long, but I'll try to make it interesting. You have now heard all of the evidence in this case, as well as the final arguments of the parties. I will instruct you on the law as I give it to you. The evidence is the testimony, the answers, and the exhibits. Arguments are not evidence. What is a reasonable doubt? It's based on your common sense after carefully weighing all of the evidence. You must weigh each witness's credibility, the truth and importance of their testimony. Size him or her up. You must decide. Sean Combs has been formally charged in an indictment. An indictment is not evidence. Count one, charges from 2004 to 2024, a racketeering enterprise. Count two, from 2009 to 2018, sex trafficking of Cassandra Ventura. Count three, from 2009 to 2018, transporting individuals, including but not limited to, not limited to Ventura for purposes of transportation. Prostitution, excuse me. Hi, welcome, thank you. I'm reading the judge's charge sheet. Count four, from 2019 to 2024, sex trafficking of Jane. Count number five, from 2019 to 2024, transporting individuals, including but not limited to Jane for purposes of prostitution, excuse me. Each court is separate. Hi, Rita Ellis. Aloha, thank you everybody for joining. I am reading the charge sheet from this morning. This is what the judge read to the jurors in the Diddy trial, to let them know what to look for, what the legalities are before they deliberated. Judge, for attempt, the U.S. must show intent and a substantial step taken. Mere intention does not amount to an attempt. Aiding and abetting means knowingly doing an act to aid or encourage a crime to be committed. No verdict has come back yet, Josh. Hi, thank you. Yes, please subscribe. Thank you for subscribing, Boaz. I appreciate it. So today, thank you so much, Rita. Today is the first day that the jury went into deliberation. So we're really not expecting anything sooner than like Wednesday or Thursday, and when they're going to come back with a verdict on Diddy. Right now, what I'm reading to you guys is the charge sheet that judge gave to the jurors as to what to look for. And for what I've already, thank you for subscribing, Rita. What I've already read to you guys, the prosecution has already proved. Let me go back really quick. So this is what he says. For count charges, one, from 2004 to 2024, a racketeering enterprise. For count two, from 2009 to 2018, sex trafficking of Cassandra Ventura. For count three, from 2009 to 2018, transporting individuals, including but not limited to Ventura, for purposes of prostitution. Yes. For count four, from 2019 to 2024, sex trafficking of Jane. Count 5 from 2019 to 2024, transporting individuals, including but not limited to Jane, for purposes of prostitution. Each count is separate. So they've proven this. Hi, Mimi. The prosecution has proven this. For racketeering from 2004 to 2024, they've proven it by all of his assistants that came and testified in the trial. For count 2 with sex trafficking of Cassandra Ventura, they've proved that during the time of doing the freak offs with her that he's transported her. Whether it was, thank you so much, Rita, whether it was consensual at all times or not, they did prove that Cassandra was flown to different places for sex acts. Count 3 for transporting individuals for prostitution, they proved that with receipts. Did he use his bad boy American Express receipts to pay for these male escorts to get flown all over the place? So there's receipts of flight records from LA to New York to Miami, Atlanta. So right there, they've already proven there's all these receipts to prove that. Yeah, he's crazy. I agree, Cedric. Okay. For attempt, the U.S. must show intent and a substantial step taken. Mere intention does not amount to an attempt. Aiding and abetting means not knowingly doing an act to aid or encourage a crime to be committed. So what he's saying here too is that there needs to be more than just an intention to go somewhere. There needs to be an actual step that follows that intention. And I believe that they have proven it. Yes, Rita, it is very crazy. For RICO, the U.S. must prove that from 2004 to 2024, there was an agreement between 2 or more individuals for a racketeering enterprise that impacted interstate commerce, that the defendant joined and committed at least 2 predicates. So there's already way more than 2 predicates. Now remember, with this RICO charge, all they need is to find 2 acts. The prosecution brought 34 witnesses, and there was way more than 2 acts. Yeah, they proved it because he had all of his assistants that came and testified. And so they proved more than 2 predicate acts. So 2 predicate acts means RICO is the main charge. Under that main charge, there was 6 requirements or rules. So it's like if they met only 2 of those 6 underneath, then, and only 2 times, not like he had to meet 1 of each charge. They just need 2. And so there's so many receipts for paying for the prostitutes. There's so many receipts for traveling expenses. So there's receipts that he literally did sex traffic with the intention of having for prostitution. All right. The U.S. must prove a mutual understanding to cooperate. You may infer its existence from the circumstances of this case. Actions may speak louder than words. You may consider the acts of all of those you find to be participants. If you find that the Combs enterprise existed, you must find whether it continued in a substantially similar form from 2004 to 2024. The people can change. As to the defendant being a member, he had to know of the existence of the enterprise. That's so interesting. So basically what they're saying is if you're going to find Combs for RICO, you're going to find him guilty that he was the head of this enterprise, then you need to have enough proof to show that from 2004 to 2024, he was the head of this enterprise or was a part of this enterprise. He acted the exact same way from 2004 to 2024, so the same actions, and also that it's okay that if the people changed. So that means like he had a ton of different assistants who came and testified. A ton of assistants who testified that they cleaned up for the freak-offs, testified that they prepared the freak-offs, testified that they were getting drugs for the freak-offs. So what the judge is saying, it's okay if these people change over a period of time. It just needs to show that for this period of time of 20 years, that the same actions was being done and that Diddy was a part of it and had knowledge and was a part of it, basically. Okay. The U.S. alleges 8 predicated acts: kidnapping, arson, bribery, witness tampering, forced labor, sex trafficking, transportation for prostitution, and intent to distribute narcotics. The US has to prove 2 offenses within 10 years. Wow. I like the specificity of this. So, thank you very much, Robbie. So, the US has to prove the 2 predicate acts, right? It can be any 2, but it has to be within the 10 years, which I feel like that's super easy. Kidnapping does not occur if the victim consented. Consent may be withdrawn. Arson under California law means that the conspirator set fire or caused the fire willfully or maliciously. Perfect. So that doesn't mean, because I don't know if you know, with Kid Cudi's car, they didn't prove that it was Diddy who did it because they found DNA of a woman, an unidentified woman. Anyway, Maisie. And so this is saying that as long as he was a conspirator, it means that if he was a conspirator willfully or maliciously. So it doesn't necessarily mean that he needed to have his DNA at the scene of the crime. Bribery of a witness under California law requires that a conspirator gave or promised to give a bribe to a person giving or about to give information to law enforcement to unlawfully influence it. So what this is about is a security guard at the Intercontinental Hotel was bribed, went on the stand and testified that he was paid $50,000 for that videotape of Diddy beating Cassie that was played all over, but in the trial. So that man, George, I forget his name, but anyway, he went and testified that he was paid $50,000 from Diddy and KK. For witness tampering, one violation, 18 section 1512. It does not matter if the subject of the threat is in fact fearful. Only a threat is required, but it must be known. For forced labor, 18 section 1589 requires use of force or use of force of physical restraint. So interesting, because they have witness tampering all over the place in this case. And it says that it doesn't matter if the person who was tampered with was in fear. I find that interesting. A person may withdraw consent and it may become forced labor. Sex trafficking will have the same definition as in counts 2 and 4, and transportation to engage in prostitution is the same as counts 3 and 5. Interesting. Next is distribution of narcotics, including this long word that you see here, knowingly and unintentionally. Distribution means actual transfer. To deliver to another person. For possession, physical custody is not needed. Control is enough. Oh, that's very interesting. Thank you, Ray. I totally agree with that. I think Maui Police Chief John Pelletier needs to go. I would like him rotting in the prison with Diddy. I live here on Maui. This is why I'm reporting on Diddy, because Diddy's lawsuit naming John Pelletier and Maui Police Commission did absolutely nothing. And Maui Police Commission is the oversight and the only boss that John Pelletier has to answer to, and they did absolutely nothing. So I have made it my job to make sure I report to everyone on Maui especially, everything that's happening in this Diddy trial, and to keep up on the docket for everything happening in the Ashley Parham versus Diddy lawsuit that names Maui Police Chief John Pelletier. Let's go. Let's get him out of here. Okay. Rico has a 5-year statute of limitation. Oh, interesting. No wonder they got to prove it up all the way up until 2024. You must find that it continued past 2019. Interesting. If you find that the government has not proved this beyond a reasonable doubt, you must find the defendant not guilty. Interesting. So that's awesome. You should go to Hawaii with her too, Jody. It's awesome. This changes everything, guys. I like that. I like the specificity of this. So basically what he's saying is there's a 5-year limit on RICO. And so the one thing they have to note is the evidence that they're looking for, it has to have happened between 2019 and 2024. So say they find one predicate act from before 2019, but they don't agree with any of the predicate acts after 2019, they don't meet that second predicate act and they can't find him guilty. That's crazy. Specificity matters so much. All right. On sex trafficking, counts 2 and 4. Transport means to take or convey from one place to another. Reckless disregard satisfies the statute. The deliberate closing of eyes. You must be unanimous on at least one specific instance of sex trafficking. Interesting. Okay. So, in case you guys don't know, Kihei is beautiful. In case you guys don't know this already, where am I reading? Sorry. The jury needs to be unanimous in their decision as far as what they're going to vote on the verdict for Diddy. If they are not unanimous, it will be a hung jury, it will be a mistrial, and Diddy goes home. Diddy goes free. They all have to unanimously agree. So I like that we're able to see and the judge and the specificity in this, which means like he's defining, hey, sex trafficking means they're transporting from one place to another, and that all of the jurors have to be unanimous vote that they all vote on at least one specific instance is considered sex trafficking. Even though there's a bunch that was considered sex trafficking, in my opinion, I read every testimony. You just never know with the jury. That's the problem. I don't think he'll go free. I think he's going to get found guilty on some. I don't know about all. I would like it to be all, but you just can't trust a jury because there's 12 different people they're all with their own mindsets, their own perspectives, and you got to get everybody to unanimously agree. So that to me is where everything comes into question. All right, prostitution. Counts 3 and 5, knowingly transporting or arranging for the transportation of an individual for purpose of prostitution. Buying or arranging a ticket is enough. Prostitution does not need to be the main purpose. Boom, they got him. They have so many receipts. The prosecutors provided so many receipts that they purchased tickets for these male escorts, airplane tickets. There's text messages. There's receipts for airfare. There's hotel stays. No, the hotels was only for their free costs, but there is so much literal receipts that they definitely met that prostitution for prostitution. Prostitution is engaging sexual activity for money or its equivalent. You must be unanimous on at least one specific act of transportation with intent to engage in prostitution. On venue, the U.S. must prove at least one act occurred in the Southern District of New York. 8 counties. I don't know what that means. We are in the home stretch. In weighing expert testimony, you should not accept it just because I allowed it. The testimony of government officials are not worth more or less weight than any other witnesses. Well, I think for right now, we're focusing on Diddy. That's what I think. And I think let's get through this first. And my next person I want KK. Okay. So I like that he specified there. And what the judge said right there was just because you saw a federal agent come on the stand, don't take his or her testimony and add more weight to that than any of the other people that went on stand. He's saying everybody was equal, and yeah, I agree. There's way more. They've proven, I believe the prosecution has proven it. Alrighty, witnesses given immunity, such as Brendan Paul, and I forget who else. Brendan Paul was the drug mule, right? He's the one who got busted the same day that Diddy's place got raided, and they were at the airport, and there was a white boy who got arrested. He got 2 felony charges because he was holding Diddy's drugs and he had it in his luggage. He was a drug mule, essentially, and he had 2 felony charges, but they granted him immunity so he can go on the stand and testify against Diddy. Yes, I believe you're right about Cassie. There was someone else, I swear. Okay, sorry. Witnesses given immunity should be examined with greater. I don't know if they wrote this right. I'm literally reading this verbatim. Witnesses given immunity should be examined with greater care. It says can. It's a greater can that ordinary witnesses. What I'm assuming he's saying there is that their the weight of their testimony shouldn't you should be mindful that they were granted immunity, and so to be mindful of how much weight you place on those testimony. That's what I'm taking away from there. Yip, you're hilarious. There's a ton of black and white boys at those parties. Okay. Charts and summaries. Demonstrative at aids are not evidence and will not be available to you in the jury room. Certain witnesses were permitted to be identified with pseudonyms. That should bear on your evaluation of credibility. The defendant had no responsibility to testify, and he did not. That's Diddy. You must not attach any significance to that. So the judge is saying right now, Diddy chose not to testify in his own case. Do not hold that against him. Do not place any significance on the fact that he chose not to testify. No, I swear it was more. He had two. He had two drugs, Chris. I can't think of it right now. By the way, you guys, thank you for staying on my live. Go ahead and give me a subscribe. I talk all about Diddy and all about Maui Police Chief John Pelletier, because I do think John Pelletier is guilty. Anyways, voluntary intoxication may negate the intent requirement of RICO predicates. Uncalled witness. You have heard names of people not called as witnesses. Each side had an equal opportunity to call them. Do not speculate or consider this. Interesting. Okay, so I want to go back to that voluntary intoxication. Voluntary intoxication may negate the intent requirement of RICO predicates. No more Diddy. I don't want no more Diddy either. I want him to go to prison and stay there. I'm thinking what this means is for those who are given drugs, who took drugs voluntarily, it can negate the intent to distribute requirement, which is one of the RICO predicates. No, I swear it was coke and it was something else, and I don't think maybe you're right. Maybe it was marijuana. I have too much stuff going in my brain that I've read. Alrighty. Any notes you took are only for you. I like that. That basically he's telling the jurors, don't be sharing your notes. Whatever notes you took, just keep them to yourself. But people are going to share. Like, that's just what they're going to do. No outside reading. You are to consider only what was presented within the four walls of this courtroom. You may not communicate about this case, including on X, Instagram, or YouTube. If you see this, tell my deputy. Oh, so I think what they're saying is like, hey, you guys, yeah, they did have the pink coke. Oh my God. I got to go back and look through my notes. If you see this, tell the deputy. So they're telling them, get overnight. If so, I wonder. Jody, you're hilarious. I believe that the law, in order to visit to have shit. Hold on, let me think. There's a name. If somebody can think of the name, when you guys are married and you can visit for the sake of having marital sex, there's a name for that. Shoot, you can only do that if you're married. Only when you're married, you're allowed to have shit. I'll think of it later. Were they drinking liquid coke? I'm not too sure, but I know there was a liquid substance. I cannot remember the name, but usually that liquid substance that was colorless and there was no smell was placed in conjugal. Thank you very much. Thank you, DW. Conjugal visits. That is only if you're married, you are granted conjugal visits, but also that depends only on the prison. Not every prison allows that. Only some do. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Lenora. I appreciate that. By the way, thank you so much for watching. If you guys can give me a hit that like and the subscribe button, I'll really appreciate that. All right, moving on. Do not be swayed by bias, including implicit bias. Ooh, so they're saying whatever even biases you have, like try to ignore that. These hidden thoughts can impact what we hear and see and how we remember it. You will now retire to consider the case. Each of you must decide the case for himself or herself after deliberating. Okay, I just want to say something really, really fast. Oh, I didn't know that about Canada. Um, where he says, do not be swayed by bias, including implicit bias. These hidden thoughts can impact what we hear and see and how we remember it. Listen, implicit bias is the way that you think. And whether or not he says that, everybody has their own perspective in life, their own things that they're going to look for. Personal privacy is on trial. So, yeah, I don't know about, I wouldn't say that. Anyways, to tell somebody to think outside of yourself is really difficult. Most people can't. They can't do that. They're gonna look at something and they're gonna have a hard time being biased or being neutral because every person has their own set of like beliefs that they already have. So to tell them, oh, don't listen to your implicit bias is pretty unrealistic. But I mean, I get it. He has to say that. Good to know, Jody. Okay, so the judge continues. Your verdict must be unanimous. If you are divided, do not report the specifics. Your foreperson will send out any notes and any verdict. Any communication with the court should be in writing. The alternates do not have to be here, but give your phone number to my deputy. You may be called to replace a juror. We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about this. You will be called when a verdict is reached. The alternates are numbers 234, 247, 292, 321, and 330. Those is in the top row. Do not read any news reports about this trial. If there were to be any, please accept my heartfelt gratitude for your service over the past 2 months and even more. My deputy will provide my personal contact info. I could give you a tour of the courthouse. The alternates leave. Now the judge says, here is the verdict sheet. Only if you find the defendant guilty of count 1, answer as to each predicate, not proved or proved. And did sex trafficking involve sex trafficking of Cassie or Jane? Count 2, 3, 4, and 5, not guilty or guilty. Wait, is that it? From now on, your schedule is your own. You will be provided with meals, and now the marshal will swear you in. Done. Now the jurors can head back into the jury room. All rise. The jurors exit. And then, the prosecution stands up. Yes. Let me see. Who has seen the video of him running at her and kicking her and beating? Yes. Whoops. Okay. Now the prosecution stands up and it's Johnson. She says, we object to including the subject lines of BlackBerry messages like, I am so horny. Estevao, who is Diddy's lawyer, says it is common for exhibits to include subject lines. BlackBerry message are more akin to emails than to text messages. The judge, let's have only neutral lists go to the jury. I'll trust the parties to provide an appropriate laptop to the jurors. I'm going to stick around for a bit, but we'll stay here as long as they wish to deliberate. At the end of the day, we'll bring them in. I appreciated the congeniality is what I'm thinking that word is supposed to be on both sides of this case. Anything before we adjourn? Comey says, nope. Can we go to another floor of the courthouse? Judge says, just give us your cell phone number and court is adjourned. Oh, okay. So that was first thing this morning. You want to know what 50 Cent is thinking, Toe Money? Go to 50 Cent's page. He's going to tell you everything he's thinking. I love it. I'm here for it. I'm here for everything that 50 posts. Okay. Now, okay, let's go back really quick about the jury and about him telling about they need to be unanimous and that the alternates do not have to be here. The verdict must be unanimous. If you're divided, do not report specifics. Your foreperson will send out notes. Any communication with the court should be in writing. All right. You guys know about the notes, right? First note that came out this morning. We're going down at 11:48 a.m. The judge says, we have received a note from the jury. They have elected juror number 5 as the foreperson. So the foreperson is basically going to be the point of contact. He's going to be the one speaking for the jury, and the foreperson is juror number 5, and he's the one who's writing the notes and sending it out to the court. It is signed by juror number 5, and there is an agreement on the laptop. It will be taken into them. Okay. As you guys should already know. Oh, here, let's go back. Let's go in at 127. The judge comes out and says, "We have received a note from the jury that we have a juror number 25." How much was the Botox? You're hilarious. I'm blessed. I don't have shit done. Well, I mean, I got my lashes, but that's it. And I draw on my eyebrows, but this is all natural, honey. I am from Hawaii. I am Hawaiian. You should see my 80-year-old aunties. Their skin looks just as good as mine. Grateful, mahalo ke akua to all these wonderful genes that I have. The only thing that's fake is these eyelashes. Thank you. Well, you know what, Sean? Is that what he was saying? I'm assuming so because it sounds like everybody agreed. Okay, in case you all don't know, they sent out a note, and this is the one. So I'm going to read it on here. At 1:27 p.m., the judge says, "We have received a note from the jury. We have a juror 25, who we believe cannot follow your instructions. I would like to meet with the court about it." The judge says, I suggest I ask for more information. Comey, who is the prosecution, says, "May we have a moment to digest what your honor has proposed? This is very sensitive." Mark Agnifilo says, "I suggest we tell them it is early. You're just getting started. If there is a further issue, to please let us know." Comey, prosecutor, says, "If we go that route, we suggest instructing the jurors that it is important not to include any information about what is going on in the jury room. We're looking at case U.S. versus Baker, blah, blah, blah." Okay, at 1:48. At 1:48, the judge says, "See if you can come to an agreement upon the note. I'll come back at 2 p.m. and we'll figure this out." They're waiting at 2 p.m. The judge says, "Do we have an agreed upon response?" Mark Agnifilo says, "No, we do not." Of course you don't. Maureen Comey, prosecutor, says, "Ms. Slavic has emailed it to the chambers." Judge, "Do we have the defense proposal?" Comey, "It will be in Ms. Slavic's email." Judge, "I would refer to have a neutral response. I like the government's draft response. That's the one I use. I'll put it in the court's letterhead." Agnifilo, "There is no suggestion that the juror will not follow instructions. So our proposal is more inert." Judge, "I don't want to suggest to the jury that there is any particular time that they must deliberate. I don't want to tell them they just started. I'm going with the government version. We will print that out and send it in." Damn. I mean, the judge has really, I'm not saying that the judge sided with the prosecution a lot, but I tell you, the judge objected a lot of the shit from the very beginning, all the way from pretrial, all the way up to the end. The judge denied a lot of shit from the defense. 4:49 p.m. Sean Combs has been brought back into the courtroom by U.S. Marshals. His lawyers are gathered around looking at a piece of paper. Judge, "We have 2 letters or notes from the jury. If an individual asks for a controlled..." Oh, that's right. Okay, this is the second note that the jury sent out today. "If an individual asks for a controlled substance and the person hands it over, is it distribution?" And the second note says that they're going to end at 5 p.m. I suggest we respond by pointing to the jury charge. Very interesting. Comey says, "We have a response to the question, but if the jury wants to leave, let's do that first." Agnifilo says, "We have a response too. Judge, let's bring out our jury and discharge them for the day." So all rise, the jurors enter. The judge says, "Per the jury's request, it is now 5 p.m., so we'll excuse you for the day. Your question will answer you tomorrow morning. I am not going to bring you into the courtroom tomorrow morning. You just come in and start at 9 a.m. The jurors leave. The judge says, "Ms. Comey." Comey responds, "I think the answer should say yes." then point them back to the instruction. Agnifilo, I would like a little more time to discuss it with my team. Of course, he's going to say that. My initial reaction is that it is not our proposal. So basically, I don't know if you guys understand that, but the second note where they come out and they're asking about what drug distribution is, and they want kind of clarification, right? And US Comey's like, just say yes, and then reread the instruction that you gave them in the first place. And of course, Agnifilo is just like, no, we don't like that. We want to meet and confer, and then we'll get back to you. The judge says, confer with the government and let us know by 6 p.m. on what is the agreed upon language. And then now it is officially adjourned. Alrighty. Okay, so in case you guys don't know, that earlier on in the day, they sent out a note saying that this juror number 25 is being really complicated. I don't know what complicated means. Initially, they made it sound like he couldn't understand the instructions, but then we find out that he's got a PhD. He's a scientist in some type of marine bioengineering or something. Hi, Tamia. And so it's like, okay, obviously he's got comprehension if he has a PhD, right? And so it comes to it. Then we find out that he's just, what is the words I've been hearing? Strong-minded, bullheaded, and like he has his idea and he wants to do what he wants to do, and it kind of goes against the jury. And so when I just read up about him, he's 51. They found out that he had already watched the Diddy trial or the Diddy video of him beating Cassie, which I find to be really interesting. Like, did they know that beforehand and they let him go through? Let me see if I can find this one thing that I screenshot about him where he says, oh yeah, okay. So he says on May 5th, when they were going through and trying to find who their jurors were going to be, it says, he said, juror number 25 said, I have a PhD in molecular biology. I listen to NPR and I like documentaries about climate change. My domestic partner, he is a graphic designer. So he's gay. We learned in another report he's white. And he's 51. He's a molecular biologist. And for some reason why he's very complicated. He's making this whole thing complicated. Not sure why, what the deal is, or how. So I don't know if they sorted that out. So definitely one thing that they're trying to, I sure hope so, Tara. We shall see. Aloha, Tara. Tara. We shall see. Hopefully so. But anyways, hopefully they worked it out, because essentially the judge and the prosecution and defense team is going to decide whether or not they're going to use the extra jurors. I forget, what are they named? We were talking about them earlier. Alternative jurors. They haven't decided that yet. We don't know that yet, what's going to happen. Because I've read I've read all the testimony. I've been following it since the very, very, very beginning. So to me, I believe all of the charges that they're charging, I know what the charges are and the predicates for it. I see that they met. No, they played all the Cassie messages, but Cassie's not on trial here. Lucky. Cassie's not on trial here. And consenting sometimes doesn't make it okay for all the other times that she didn't consent. And it only takes one time of not consenting. Period. So we shall say, I don't know what you're saying, Lucky. Anyways, we shall see what happens. I will be very surprised if we get a verdict tomorrow, as soon as tomorrow. I'm thinking it's going to be sometime around Thursday. And the only reason why I think that is because the 4th of July is on Friday, and I think the jury's over it. I think the jury wants to enjoy time with their family. They're tired of listening to this. They're tired of watching freak offs. They're tired of hearing all of this stuff. I think they just want to be done with it and they want to go home with their families. So I definitely didn't think they would reach a verdict today. I am concerned as to whether or not there's going to be a unanimous vote. That I'm unaware. I don't know how that's going to go. But apparently there's one crazy one, which also raises the question that if they were complaining about that one man, juror 25, does that mean all the rest of the jurors already think that he's not guilty Aloha Thomas, aloha John. Mahalo for joining. Everybody like and subscribe. I appreciate you guys so much. I cover the Diddy trial because I live here in Maui, and Maui Police Chief John Pelletier was named in a Diddy lawsuit. By the way, in case you guys don't know this, it was in the docket that um John Pelletier was ID'd by the victim. That is the reason why John Pelletier has been named in a Diddy lawsuit. You can go onto Pacers. You got to create an account. You can go look at the docket yourself. Yeah, the DJ Vlad videos are good. No, baby oil's lucky baby oil is not illegal, but to me, the way I see it is there's specific charges that they were claiming, the government was claiming of that, right? There's rules as to what those charges are. And the prosecution brought enough evidence over the 34 witnesses, over all the exhibits, the text messages, all the text messages that could be shown to the public that we could see. I've read all of them. So I'm not saying there are times where Cassie and Jane willfully wanted to be a part of it, but there's also times where they weren't. And if you're going to go black and white, whether or not those laws were broken as to what the charge is and what's considered breaking the law, Diddy did it. And it was all proven in the trial. But it comes down to 12 people deciding whether or not. I don't know. There was nobody underage, John, that's in this trial. However, no, he's not the only culprit. However, this case is only about Diddy currently. I feel they need to get this guilty verdict. Once they have that down, then they can go after KK. Then they can go after the other security guards, Fahim, Roger Bonds. They can start going after all these other guys. That's why I don't know if you guys. Hi, Rita. Thanks for coming back. I don't know if you guys know Big Homie Cece, but Big Homie Cece just posted yesterday how he's fleeing the country. He's out. He's gone. He needs to go. Yes. So Big Homie Cece is also named in the same lawsuit that names Maui Police Chief John Pelletier. Okay. So whether or not Big Homie Cece went out of the country because he's scared, or if he left because if he knows if Diddy gets found guilty, then it's only going to open the floodgates to all the other lawsuits of being found guilty. That we don't know. We can't read in his mind. But by the way, you guys, if you guys do want to watch the footage of Diddy beating Cassie, I have it on my page. It's on there. Just don't look down on the videos. And while you're here, thank you very much. Hit that like button, subscribe button. I really appreciate you guys so much. And I think that's where we're gonna leave off. So today we had the two big things where we had the two notes come from the jury. One, jury 25 is erratic apparently. And then number two, they want to get more clarification on what drug distribution is. We shall see. In regards to Diddy, the way he attacked her, that's not his first time. The way he attacked her, that he's been doing that shit behind closed doors for a long time. Anyways, I think from what was said, there's text messages of Cassie saying she loved the freak offs, that she wanted the freak offs. And I believe that she did love it until she didn't love it. And so that's kind of the question, is like, she did until she didn't. Yeah, 100% Karina. Like the way that man acted, that man beats women. Crip Blue, I'm not gonna answer that question. I have my ex-husband actually is. My children are mixed. That was when I lived in the mainland, but I live in Maui now. And that is the most personal thing I have ever shared on my page. Okay. Thank you so much to everybody who tuned in. I appreciate you guys. I've been reading the Diddy trial testimony, so it's factual. It's actually verbatim of what is being said in the Diddy trial. Okay, so we love that. Anyways, I'm gonna keep you guys updated on everything. Thank you so much for joining. Mahalo for joining. Aloha, you guys have a wonderful night. Aloha.